I'm cracking up. I do.
It's on now.
Okay, it's on now. Okay, look, welcome to Talking Jits and Giggles. Our sponsors or people that help us do all this kind of stuff is Marvia Fightwear, Burning Needles Tattoos. We have Neanderthal, Dan Reveley Building, 03 Apparel, Open Palm Massage Therapy.
Give that twice.
No, I only say it once this time. And yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh, and Groundworx Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. Hey, this time I'll say it at the start. Look, guys, I know that you may, some of you may like it, some of you may not. I always get hassled about this because I always do it at the end of the podcast, so I'll do it at the start of the one. Look, if you don't like us, it's absolutely fine. But at least share it, so someone else may like it and may want to know about jiu-jitsu and people around the world. So it's pretty awesome. Remember, it's about New Zealand jiu-jitsu practitioners or people training in New Zealand. And today we have Scotty Walker with us. So that's a pretty awesome one, who is actually in Canada at the moment. So he lives over there. And yeah, welcome, Scotty. Awesome, bro.
Yeah. No, it's good to be back. Yeah, it's good to talk about Jits, and it's good to talk Jits for the guys that I've kind of done the whole thing with as well. So it's kind of nice to make sure you guys are doing this thing for the community as well. It's kind of great to hear, you know, from New Zealanders or New Zealanders around the world. So great.
New
Zealand.
Yeah. He hasn't got an accent just yet.
I have to slow it down a bit. No one understands me if I go full New Zealand, so I have to kind of slow down the speech to a degree.
That's me in New Zealand. Like, calm down, mate. You know.
Yeah. It's like the speed just cranks up to 11. Yeah. If I do that here, everyone just kind of looks at me and go, "Yeah, what was that again?" I was like,
What's that about?
What's that about? Exactly.
Hey, look, Scotty. Look, tell us about your journey in jiu-jitsu, mate. Let's go way back to the start, from when you started, or even as a young fella, you know, and to where you are today.
Yeah. So it's been a long journey actually, and it's weird. I just thought about it this year. Really, I wasn't really thinking about it too much, but it was like it's been over a decade since I've been doing this. So it's been a few now. Like before, you know, I would remember way back when I was a white belt. I think it was way back in 2009. I think it was. And just coming from what I did then to where I'm at now, it's kind of crazy how this journey has been 3 different countries and 3 different gyms. So it's been good. But yeah, for me, I started way back, about 2009. At the time, I was working as a sea guide tour guide. So I was up in Kaititi, over in Abel Tasman, and I was instructing there and kind of taking people on tours. And there was a period when that actually finished up, which is kind of around about April. Season quietens down, and pretty much I started to work as a barman. And so I had a little bit of extra time on my hands, and so I wasn't working 40 hours a week. And for my spare time, I was going to United Video down the road, and I was getting these 5 packs of the UFCs. I think they were like, you'd get 5 of them for like $6 or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
I just went there and would just started to, I don't know why, what I kind of caught on to it, but started watching. I remember watching one with a friend one night. I was like, I'll just hire something out. Pretty extreme, I've heard. So I started watching all those, and I got really into it. I'm like, this looks pretty good. I mean, especially with all this extra time, I'm burning through these. I think I've watched about maybe 6 to 15 a week. You know, I was really like watching a lot, and I really wanted to do this. I was like, I'm gonna do MMA. So I was real cliche. I was like, I need to do MMA. Didn't think about jiu-jitsu at all. Didn't know what it was. And there was no gyms at the time. There was only one gym I recall, and it was Marcelo's, and he would do it once. Marcelo Lopez. He would do it once a week, and he would come from Blenheim to Nelson, where I was at in New Zealand, and he would drive all the way over, take him about an hour and a half. He would come once a week. Every now and then it would be once every 2 weeks. So when I got there, I'm like, okay, I want to do MMA. And he's like, oh, that's great, but I think you want to do jiu-jitsu first. So come do jiu-jitsu first. And I was like, I come once a week, but some of my students are starting to do their own. They're doing it. I think once a week they were coming to the academy and just training themselves. So people that went and trained with Marcelo just started holding themselves. There was a blue belt under him, Owen Sweetman, and we held this little academy in the middle. So when I got there, I went down to Hunanui, and it was just an old church, I think it was, and they were renting that out. And so I went to that, and I was like, "This is what I'm doing." He's like, "Cool, let's do it." So the next time I came around, that wasn't being used anymore. The situation had changed. Now Marcel was only coming once a month. So we did this training with just Owen. He would kind of run this little academy in the middle of this industrial area in Richmond. And so I go train there, and my first class, I remember just getting, we actually didn't go there first. We went all the way over to Blenheim to this big, everyone who were training throughout the week would go in there. So I went with them. So I went over to Marcelo's place in Blenheim, and I remember just getting wrecked. I didn't know what I was doing. I was wearing like a karate outfit, but it was like a black pants and like a white top. And looking back to it, I look at the pictures and go, man,
Tuxedo.
so
I
like,
think I got photos of you in that one.
I remember getting like choked like all the time because the gi was really light. So the guys there were just like choking the living out of me. So I didn't know what I was doing, and I was like, I'm just gonna keep trying. All the drills we do, didn't have a clue how to do the drills. So yeah, that one class we took about an hour and a half drive up to Blenheim, and from then on we did these just little classes just with Owen at this industrial academy in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, I did that for a few months. Pretty much, I decided at that point I wanted to move to Christchurch, and I kind of wanted to do a lot more jiu-jitsu, and I wanted to do MMA as well. So I was like, I'll go to Christchurch, and from Nelson, that was always like a big
smoke. Yeah.
Let's do this. So there's actually a couple gyms there, proper gyms.
Hey mate, there's 3 gyms in Nelson now.
Yeah, is there? Yeah.
So, 3 jiu-jitsu gyms in Nelson.
We didn't have that back when I started. It was Groundworx was just starting. It was I remember when I got down there, I looked at a few different places, and I went to Academy Combat and checked them out, and then I went to Strike Force as well, and then I checked you out as the
Last.
So Academy Combat, when I went in there, they wanted me to fill out a few paperworks and stuff like that, and I just kind of wasn't. It looked like a lot too organized. I'd come from literally no organization whatsoever, and coming to this, it was like so I stepped back from that. Strike Force was good, but the timings weren't as good for my work. And then when I saw Groundworx, I just kind of fell in love with Groundworx. And then when I moved down there, I just started training there with you guys. And this was back in 2010, I think. Yeah. And I remember going in there, and we were rolling. And I think when I decided to stay, like, oh, you decided to stay because I can't with no stripes on my white belt. And he goes, okay, I'm moving this boy up to 3-stripe white. And I was like, yes, 3 stripes. Yeah, I'm now above something. So I've ever been really stoked getting my 3 stripes. And yeah, I remember training there for a while, and it was a good time. We got into MMA. You started helping with that a lot, Hayden, and I remember that being one of my main focuses. And I remember when you said you really want to do this, I was like, yeah. It's like, okay, yeah, but you'll fight up in North Holland.
Rotorua.
Yeah, and Rotorua. So it was like, oh, okay, cool. Right, let's do this. And I remember getting so pumped. And when we actually finally got to it, I remember getting up there, and I don't know how long have I had, was I training at that point, Hayden? I think
it hadn't been very long anyway, I know, because Bryan was helping us in the mornings.
Yeah.
And we went up there. Look, let's be honest, you still are, but you were a specimen back then compared to myself. And it was the funniest thing, because I remember we went to Rotorua. It was a Ronnie show, and we went there, and then we went to the weigh-ins at the bar, and your guy that you were fighting was late. So we're sitting around, you weighed in, you done all your thing. And then this guy walked in, and he was this big young fella, built like a tank, Like I said, I thought Scotty was a specimen, and then this guy took his top. I'm like, holy shit, that guy was built like a tank.
Yeah. The biggest guy you've ever seen. I was sitting there going, oh, yeah, well, when's my guy? This guy's obviously the.
Is that his dad?
Anyway, his opponent must be coming soon, you know. And I'm like, hey, no worries, my guy's next. Nah, Scott, you're fighting him. And I was like, that dude has got like, his arms are bigger than my head. I was like, thought I was a big dude, and he's like, yeah, he was a specimen to behold, eh? Big Maori boy, built like a brick.
What weight was that? What weight class was that?
This was I don't know what it was at. What was it? It was like
80, 88, 90?
Yeah, I think it was,
something like
88.
that.
Yeah, I think it was 88. And he must have cut some weight. He must have cut some weight for that. Oh yeah, and I remember getting there going, actually, I don't know anymore. That guy looks like a bit of it. But well, I got up so many times doing those 7 o'clock trainings we had. Hey,
6. It was 6.
Like, well,
6.
Oh, was it 6? Was it?
It was 6, mate.
Really, it felt like that as well. And I remember going there and I'm going, oh, this is crazy. We're going to do this. And I remember the fight came to. There was like no, the sound system was amazing, but there was no coating over the cage. So if you got pushed up against the cage, it was just like rough metal essentially. I remember
like Fahey fencing.
Yeah. I remember
there was no plastic, bro. There was no plastic. It was just like, you were up against it.
A Kiwi cage.
All right, but the sound system was amazing. Like it sounded like you got in there, you got your music playing as you walked up, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty sweet." So I was getting pretty excited for it. I remember getting in there and then going. Then he came out with some intense gangster rap. I'm like, "Oh man, this guy is."
What did you walk out to?
He's gonna come in here and just like throw these hammers at my head. So I was like, "Cool, let's do this." And I remember getting into it, and it was crazy. Like even says it, like when you first get in there, like the fear kind of evaporates when you actually get to the point where probably gonna have to do something now. And I guess your body kind of realizes, okay, it's game time. And I remember just doing a little striking exchange. Nothing happened, and I tried to put a guillotine on, and I kind of jumped guard, and he just stood up.
I was waiting for it.
Oh, look, it was the funniest. It was the funniest thing because, like, never have we trained it. It was always strike, take down, and it looked like it was the highest jump guard I've ever seen in my life. It was like this huge adrenaline boost, and it was just like, what are you doing?
Yeah, man, felt pretty confident in it, but I look back and go, that was a bad idea. I shouldn't have done that. And then I remember trying to I pulled guard on that, didn't work at all, and he was put me down and I tried to omoplata him, and at that point my omoplatas I didn't even really know the general setup of the legs, so I was just like trying to like do it on pure like a memory of seeing people do it. And then for some reason I went for a knee bar. I didn't even know how to knee bar anyone at that particular time. I was falling down, he fell down, and then
that's it.
Went straight to the old straight ankle lock. And again, I didn't even know how to do ankle locks at that point. I think I had about 6 months jiu-jitsu, and going for an ankle lock was, not seeing a good thing. Right at the start, you need to pass the guard, so I hadn't really even focused on them at all. I'm sitting there trying to do it, didn't work at all. He came up, pushed me against the cage, started to elbow me in the face. I think the timer went. No, they stood us up. And I think at that point, I think you were screaming at me, just double leg and put him on the ground. I was like, at that time, I remember grabbing him, he fell down, passed the mount, and then just started to hit him. But I couldn't put him out. Just pretty much keep hitting him.
He was pretty messed up by the end of it. He was pretty messed up.
And the whole fight we just went like that. And now at the second round, I'm like, put him on his back. He obviously had no jets. So even that 6 months of jiu-jitsu, like once he was on the ground, I passed his guard, went straight to mount, continued to strike. He didn't have solid enough skills to really like put on an arm bar or anything from the top, but stayed the whole time there. And third round came, did the same thing again. And so the whole thing, jiu-jitsu literally saved my life. Not right at the start, but right at the end.
If you think back now, then the fact that you went for a straight ankle and a knee bar and a normal plata, he'd been thinking, "Fuck, this dude is like black belt."
Yeah. So I'm hoping I'm just purely throwing enough heat that he's like, you know what he's doing. I'm like, man, it's all just smoke and mirrors.
You know, that Master Ken self-defense, and he's given that one.
Exactly. Oh, and that was good fun. And then pretty much after that, we went for training. It was good, and then the earthquakes came, and that pretty much demoed the first gym.
Literally.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so that was sad. I really liked that gym. It was the old, what was it? Who
Bedford Row. It was old Johnny Kennedy's karate gym.
Yeah, freestyle karate.
Which was awesome. He let us. He actually let us use it. Just gave it to us really to use at the end of it. Which I really appreciate, especially starting us off anyway. But yeah, obviously the earthquakes come and things had to change from then.
Yeah. Yeah, that was hard for me. That was the first kind of hurdle in my jiu-jitsu, because it essentially the earthquake demoed my house as well, and so it couldn't be rented out of there. And essentially the place I was working, was the Mac back there that completely like that finished it pretty much. The building got wrecked and they never went back. And from then on, I essentially moved up to Wellington and was working up there for a while, staying at my sister's. And at that point, I had really decided to, because when I went to Christchurch, I had the idea in my head that if that didn't work, maybe try going overseas, going over to Australia, because we had that free movement between the countries. It was like, oh, this is going to work for us as well. And I remember getting the job over there. I'm like, okay, cool. I've got this job over in Melbourne. It's a chance to move over. And that was the first kind of change when I went from training with you and I got my blue belt from you. And that was not long after the fight, I believe.
Yeah.
I remember getting it with Spider, and so when the whole thing went down, couldn't really train, and then I moved up to Wellington, and then moved over to Melbourne not long after that. And that's when I started training under Ben Hall at the Carlson Gracie gym, headquarters in Melbourne there. And that was a nice experience as well. That's when I really committed to jiu-jitsu really heavily. Like going up to it, I was definitely into it a lot. But the main move when I moved there and where I chose a location was trying to be able to get to a gym and be able to train as much as I could, because it was the first place where their academy was run by an instructor who that was his job. Like that was his only job he did. So there was a lot more classes. So if you really wanted to, you could train 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, and sometimes you could do double trainings a day as well. So that's when I really picked up. I was a blue belt, just like thinking back to it now. I'm like really cliche blue belt, like, yeah, I'm going to compete all the time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go everywhere, I'm going to get sponsored. And I really wanted to do MMA more there as well. And they kind of had a system with MMA going as well. So I kind of was trying to get into it as well over there. But that's when my MMA started to become not as a big a deal for me. I started to try train into it quite heavily, but it was a lot harder to get fights than I thought there would be. And then slowly, as I stayed there for about 3 years before I moved again, my goal went more to jiu-jitsu training and more to jiu-jitsu competitions. Like I did have a couple of fights over there, but I definitely would, looking back to it, notice that I was trying to focus mainly to compete jiu-jitsu. I did that a lot.
Did it right.
Yeah, I was going to say your jiu-jitsu career is pretty good.
Yeah, and then, but I just noticed I loved it a little bit more. It's when I would fight MMA, there's all this. It's so much stress leading up to it. There's so many politics you got to deal with as well. Where jiu-jitsu seemed like the on the side, the one that's like, well, if you can do this, there's all these, and there's not many consequences, So I was like, oh, you can compete a lot more often. The chance of getting hurt is not as high, and it was a good time to travel as well. So I competed all through Melbourne. We had quite a few big tournaments there. The Pan Pacific Championships, did that a few times. Won quite a few golds through it as well, which is kind of nice. And trained pretty much all across Australia as well. So I competed in a few different state championships, winning most of those as well. Pretty much would compete at heavyweight. So I did pretty well going through, winning golds within no gi and gi. And that really, like, it was a good excitement to be able to travel somewhere, compete against people, and kind of all speaking the same language. But it's a good way to kind of travel and to feel like you're doing something you enjoy as well. So did that all through Australia. Went to Tasmania, competed there, competed through up in Sydney as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I trained a lot. So I remember training all the time. I wouldn't finish having dinner until about 10:30, 11 at night, because I've been training pretty much. As soon as I'd finish work, I'd just bike straight there from work. Sometimes like I'd get there like 10 minutes late, and I'd do a double class, and I'd do that 5 days a week, and I'd do open mats on Saturdays as well. So it was a heavy training period, and I was pretty lucky. I didn't really have any injuries at blue belt, and kind of when I got through and got my purple belt under Ben Hall, that's when I started to really enjoy competing. But that's when I traveled a bit more as well. So I pretty much, when I got my second stripe, my purple belt, I moved over to Canada. I was getting towards, I think it was about 27, 28 at the time. And I really wanted to travel, and I thought it was a really good way to do more jiu-jitsu as well, because there was even Canada was the next step up from Australia. There wasn't as much in Melbourne that I thought in my head, but looking back, it was probably about the same. But I came over here and I trained under the East Van Jiu-Jitsu, and before that, I did a few trips around the island, Vancouver Island here, and kind of around the greater Vancouver area, and trained at a few different gyms. I trained under Marcus Suarez for a couple of nights. He was crazy. When I chose that gym, that one night, I was just sitting there at the hostel I was staying at, and I was like, oh, I'll go check this one out tonight. Which I tried to do, when I could, when I first got there. And when I got there, he was like didn't do as much research as I thought. He was like 7th degree black belt. And I had the white and red bars across the black belt. And I'm like, man, this is crazy. They've got guys like, and when I first started, even trying to find a black belt in South Island was hard. Oh, yeah. And now I'm staring at a guy that's like a 7th degree, and he's probably had his black belt longer than I've been alive. And that was a pretty amazing experience. But the timings didn't work for that place, so I didn't train there. And then eventually, moved to East Van. And that was when the tempo kicked up for like competition. Kind of going through it, everyone would like to compete growing up, or at least be competitive while rolling, but actual competition wasn't as common, so there's not as many people got into it. But over here, there's just competitions everywhere. So there was just, everyone was killers. Everyone was just, they really wanted to roll hard, and every night was an absolute battle. And I was this new kid going there, and I did very well for myself. And I thought that would, I would go in there, I would do really well, and then I would just kind of get to my, because I usually get into like a nice easy rhythm, and everyone will kind of generally roll a bit less, because I'll do quite well. But now for them, if they get beaten, they were just like coming at me, like all these like blue belts. And I was catching a lot of brown belts back then as well, and they were furious that I was beating them, so they would come at me heavy. So I remember sometimes going to train, I'm like, oh man, I feel like everyone's coming to get me. I'm like, this is tense. So I remember sometimes there was one. I remember one instance. It was like a Wednesday, I think. I just finished a hard day at work, so I was working as a landscaper then. And I remember going to class, and I was taping up my fingers, and I got so anxious. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a really hard one. And I didn't go to train. I was like, oh man, Scott, you need to just relax a bit. It's not that bad. And but yeah, it was good, hard, solid training. And I was there for almost a year, and had some great tournaments under them. I remember having this one tournament I did was kind of crazy. It was at the top of Vancouver, and at one of the colleges there. And they used one of their sports the sports court, essentially, the inside area, to have a big tournament. And I was training hard for this, and I remember it was the Wednesday, and I was trying to drop Sianagi, and the guy essentially based out way lower. And when I went to drop my head, I just essentially headbutted the top of the guy's head from the drops in Nugget because he's not supposed to be underneath me because I shook him down. And I thought he was going to come up way higher before I shook him again, down again. But he went way lower and I just smashed my head and the whole thing just popped. And I just started pouring out blood, man. Like I didn't know the blood would come out that much just from your nose. Like it would just pour out like a faucet. I remember just chucking my hand over and I'm like, it's good, it's fine. And it's just pouring down, dripping. And I remember there had been some girls in there that had just started for like it was their first class and they were like, screaming, no, what's going on? I'm like step over people. I'm like, excuse me guys, excuse me. One of the guys freaked out. He's like, because he's obviously seen all this blood. He's like, I need to stop the blood. And I'm like, what do I grab? And he just couldn't, he's obviously just thinking as fast as he could. Can't remember who it was at the time. And he just pulled, I remember going into the toilets and just, he opened up the paper towel machine and just pulled the whole thing out. I'm like, yeah, use this. So I'm just like, pulling off handfuls of it and just got it place. And then I'm like, well, I've got to compete on Saturday now. And I'm like, I think I've broken my nose. I'm sitting there going, so each night it goes to that Wednesday night, I'm back home going, oh no, this is not good. This is not good. Thursday night comes, it's still tender. I think I touched it once and started pouring out blood. I'm like, okay, well, it's Thursday now. And then it comes up to the Friday. I'm like, okay, tomorrow's am I still going to do it? I'm like, nah, yeah, I'll do it. No matter what, as long as I get on there and I get like, I step on the mat. If I do one thing and it pours out blood and they kick me off the mat, I'm like, well, at least I didn't give up. They made me stop it. So first match, I get there, weight's all good, get on there, first match, I'm like, okay, this is going to be, I know it's really worried because usually what I would do back then is I just like, as soon as we'd touch hands, I would just essentially come up and either blast double or just aggressively come up and try to, link some takedowns. And I just was way more like, if I
stay back.
Yeah, no. That's it. I'm like, what do I do? So I'm like, sweet. So I got on there. I remember just like tying up, grabbing the grips and like, this isn't gi. So I'm like, what do I do? I remember him trying to do something. So I did an inside sweep. He fell down, passed his guard, mounted him, and then armbarred him. I was like, cool. Just keep that going. That's all we need to do. And then the next match I had, I got a bye. So I was like, well, that works as well. And then I go in for the semi-finals, and so this one goes on. The winner of that fights in the final. So I'm like, sweet, cool, let's do this. And yeah, I tried to take him down, didn't work this time. And I remember going into half guard, and I went for the underhook. I remember my nose just hitting the side of his gi, and I was going just kind of like trying to hold it off. And then he passed. And he essentially beat me on points, and so I was really gutted. Got third place, but well, I didn't bleed over everyone, so
didn't drown in your own blood.
yeah, exactly. So that was a good time. And then I got sent back. So they sent me back to well, I went back myself back to Australia. And at that time, that's when I met my now future wife, Pranita, and she came back with me, and that's when I went back and trained with Ben Hall. And trained there for a year, and before we moved back to New Zealand. So I didn't really compete much when I came back. I think I did a few tournaments. Oh no, I did actually. I did compete a few more times. I remember it was the last one I did before I left. It's at Pupu. I think I won the gi. No, I got second in the gi at the Victoria Championships, and then I beat the same guy in the no-gi, so that felt pretty good. And I remember just getting like absolutely trashed toes from the mats, and it was the first time I come back and did that. And then from that I moved back to New Zealand, and I didn't really compete as much. That's when I actually started to do the submission only matches that you were holding, Hayden.
Yeah.
And I remember coming back and just getting my brown belt through you, which was pretty amazing experience for myself. It was the first step up from when you go, okay, no one touched the legs, no leg locks, and then went straight from having all these things available there. You kind of go to the lower ranks and you're like, you don't do these techniques because that's for the brown belts and that's for the black belts, and everyone else isn't allowed to do them in all the tournaments. So man, that being, oh my God, I can do this now. So that was a definite change in my my game plan. Before that, I would say for blue belt, that's when I kind of really focused on probably arm bars. That's when I really got attached to arm bars and a very hard attacking style, like a double leg, put them down, pass the guard, try either get the arm lock from the side or get it from, like, say, mount. And then when I moved into to purple belt, that's when I was a little bit more relaxed, but still went for a lot more takedowns, probably oriented from like the single leg and trips. And then I would calm down a lot more, and I was doing a lot more chokes. That's when I started to really pick up guillotines. Like that was one of my favorite techniques. I kind of picked that up off a friend of mine, Richie Ivory. He's an Irishman I train with in at Ben Halls. When he came in, he essentially guillotined everyone. I remember him just going through, just had that one knack for one technique, and it was the guillotine. So anyone, no matter how big they were, if they put up a neck, he would just latch onto it and just strangle a little bit harder without tap. So that's why I really I'd say purple belt, I latched onto the guillotine as well, because I'm always saying, well, the armbar doesn't work. You need something that will, if it is on, even if they do fight, it's
where you going to
people will have to tap. So it was a good, in my head, to have a really solid choke that you feel so committed to that if you've got it, that's it, And when I moved on to the brown belt, that's when I just really latched on to leg locks and toe holds, and I really enjoyed that. And that's when I started to use them a lot more in competitions. And I think I won a few matches through toe hold.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think you won 2 or 3 of them, didn't you?
Yeah.
If we rewind a little bit, you're really underselling this, because I think you've also forgotten to say how you did the Grand Slam sweep at purple belt in Australia, and when you got your brown belt, it was on a Wednesday, and then you competed as a brown belt on the Saturday and won by footlock.
Oh yeah.
I was like, hang on, he's really underselling himself here.
Yeah. I tell you, I have the memory of a goldfish sometimes. There's so many different matches now that are trying to put them all together. That's right, wasn't I?
Thanks, no timeline.
What did I compete in? I got it, and then was it the sub only one?
It was the sub only against Cam, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just against Cam. There was a couple other ones as well, but you end up fighting Cam Steer in the final.
Yeah, we had some battles in Cam.
Yeah.
It was crazy for me. I completely missed this actually. So when I was really back on as a white belt, and this is before I went to Christchurch, so I hadn't had any stripes, still there to straight white belt, and still wanted to fight. And Marcelo Lopez, he actually got me a fight through this kickboxing promotion. I can't remember who ran it, but it was right at the back of Nelson. It was held in the basketball courts there, and that's right. It was
outside or inside?
I actually got it through. So I was a bouncer at this club, and one of the guys I worked with, I can't recall his name off the top of my head, and he was the kickboxer, and he was running this promotion. And he's like, "Oh, trying to see if any bouncers want to do it. Did you want to give it a go?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'll give it a shot." I'm like, and essentially the rules were going to be, when you were grappling on the ground, there was no strikes, but standing there was strikes. And I essentially went to Marcel and said, "Look, I've got this fight. Can you train me for it?" He's like, "Sure, yeah. What is it again?" I'm like, because I kind of came to it with him. And anyway, long story short, so I got this fight. We would train for it very seldom do I train. And the guy, when the fight night came, it was all just Muay Thai. Had that Muay Thai music playing through every single match. And I was going to be the only different fight, essentially. It wasn't full MMA because we couldn't punch on the ground.
Like the UMAF rules.
Yeah, exactly. And so this guy I was going to fight was coming up from Northland, and he just never turned up. He literally just said he was on his way, just never turned up. So we ended up doing this weird fight with Marcelo. We essentially just did an exhibition match to kind of showcase MMA. But before that, when I was about to get to my match, Cam and the Red Devil, Erskine, him and Cam came up with the Academy of Combat guys because they had a few kickboxers. And I remember coming up, and Cam and John, they were blue belts, and I wasn't a blue belt at the time, and so I was like, "Oh, these guys are blue belts. It's crazy. Look at these guys, because I knew they were MMA fighters. So I remember thinking, Cam and John, I remember going, these guys want to be. This is amazing. So when I actually competed against Cam the first time, it was a real crazy, because I remember seeing Cam as like, whoa, this guy's like this. He's doing this so long, and I hadn't done any. And to compete against him kind of at the same belt rank was kind of a special thing for me, you know, especially when we competed, it was in the final. I think every time we competed was in the final. So that was kind of cool as well. And yeah, he was a beast. Yeah, Cam's a beast, and we had some good battles for sure.
It's a really good fight. That first final was an awesome fight.
Yeah.
And he's got no, he doesn't give up, man. He let his foot go, but I remember it like when I latched onto that toe hold and I felt the movement in his foot. Man, yeah, it was nuts. And he kind of just he obviously tried to get as much as he could. Unfortunately, it was a little bit damaged. Hopefully, it wasn't anything done. But
we talked about it. We interviewed him on the podcast, and I brought it up.
Yeah.
It was bad because I remember it swelled up a lot, and because you stopped, you're like, "Fuck your foot," and then he walked off afterwards. It like swelled up, and then it went down, and then he got in his car and drove home, and he was fine the next day. He said it. I was like, bullshit. I saw it happen. I heard it, and I saw your foot, and you couldn't even ice it properly. He said, yeah, I just kind of walked it off. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Oh, well, that's good to get. Man, worrying the
always remember that the day you. Well, I don't know if it was your first. It definitely was your worst cauliflower year. And it's the worst cauliflower I've ever seen, to be quite honest. One thing with Scotty, he just loves training. So, you know, the ear swelled up, and then he come to training, and the ear swelled up some more, and I don't think he realised he needed it to, like, ice it. And then I think the next time he come in, his ears were bigger than my fucking headphones. Like, they were out here. And what happened? You had to go, did you get them? Yeah, got it cut open, didn't you?
Cut and drain.
So it was, the crazy thing was, like, going into getting my ear done, I remember it was just grappling, and it puffed up, and from pretty much finding, I was like, okay, I come from New Zealand. It's obviously it's a rugby heavy place. They would have seen this all the time. A lot of the doctors, I saw a couple of doctors, and each one had a different play how to do it. I had to get it done, like, I think twice. One of them said, "Oh, what we'll do is we'll cut it open. So we'll pin it together. So we'll pin it straight through the whole ear, and then we'll cut it, and then we'll bleed the ear out." And the other guys are like, "What we'll do is we'll just suck out the blood, and then hopefully that works." So it was kind of hilarious. Like, there was a couple of different at one point I just had this black spongy bit stuck to my ear, because it was just the doctor essentially just pinned it to my ear, say, well, this is going to keep it down. But up to that point, and man, it got big. I mean, I haven't really had many cauliflower issues kind of when I got really into it later on my belts, but right at the start, I remember my ears getting wrecked. Like, I remember when I got to Melbourne as well, it did it again. And the ear that I thought was the bad ear, which is this one here, became the good ear. Now this one's the bad one. So it's like, yeah. So it's hilarious to know that all the issues I had, and the things that most people look at black belts and go, oh, you can tell this guy's a black belt. He's got such messed up ears, and my ears came from a blue belt level. So I'm like, what are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, but you also when you were getting it drained, I remember you turned up to training one time, and you looked like Princess Leia because you had like this fucking head wrap on, and I was like, oh, what happened? Oh, I just got it drained before, like 10 minutes ago, in your roll. And then you said, oh, it's this is my memory, and you took it off, and it's too hot, and you took it off, and then this air came out, and I was like, and you're like, what? I was like, nothing looks good. You didn't look at it at the end, and you're, what the fuck?
I look at it really looked like I've been hit with an axe. Like, the guy's like, he drained it, whole thing, and then he just wrapped it up. Like, you don't have to train. You can. And I had this helmet. It's almost like a helmet.
It was huge. It was fucking huge.
And then I remember training, and that same time, dude, I remember the first roll I had, I remember rolling on one side, and it hit it, and I was like, oh no, and I felt it just go, it just popped back up. I was like, well, shouldn't have done that.
Them's the breaks.
Oh, look. And then you were saying before, so you got awarded your brown belt, but also from then you started teaching as well.
Yeah, so that was an experience which I didn't expect, and what I actually got from it. So then I started to teach a lot more, and I really did have the mentality kind of going into all my jiu-jitsu at that point as I'm a competitor. I'm a student. I'm here to absorb as much as I can, and then to try like implement as much as that into my game so I can compete, and to make my own technique as good as possible so I can compete well and I can do well. And when I got my brown belt and I started teaching, that's when I kind of it really helped me in analyzing a lot of techniques that I didn't look back on as much, because a lot of them, you've done them so many times that you don't come back to them. It's, you know, small drilling techniques or warm-up techniques that are really good to do a lot. And maybe just rethink every technique. I had to, when I would kind of do my classes and I started to teach and explain the techniques, it really made me think I need to go back and add every single step in, because I need to explain this to people that actually don't understand the technique at all. And that helped me to kind of remember when I actually go through and use the techniques in situations, I can actually see the steps again, rather than just kind of knowing them. I can see them by explaining them, and then I'm kind of learn the technique twice over. And one of the things I didn't expect was the kind of satisfaction you get from actually teaching the technique, teaching jiu-jitsu and someone learn it. And it was kind of great. I mean, I remember teaching Ben Russ, shout out to Ben Russ, him a few techniques that I see him use and use effectively in tournaments as well. So, and that was a really nice thing to see, people actually using your technique to win and win essentially. Yeah. So, and just to see everyone start to pick up what you're teaching, and seeing certain mentalities that you like in your own jiu-jitsu, and seeing people pick up those mentalities. Seeing some of them like go hard to certain techniques that you really enjoy because you know that's what you were starting to teach, and then see it within them. Yeah, I really loved it. I mean, I really started to enjoy that part a lot more, and I didn't think I was going to as well. I kind of, coming from a competitor, I was like, oh, I don't want to teach. I just want to learn and get better. And that from that point on, I got the thirst for just learning jiu-jitsu, because then I can share it and learn more myself, just for the pure knowledge aspect of it as well. That was great. That was great. I'd say brown belt's been more of an expanding belt than all the other ones, I'd say, in my eyes.
I mean, it's a pretty big thing. Well, I mean, you've got your belt, but I mean, you've been training for a very long time. Your jiu-jitsu is a very high level, but obviously because, well, in my opinion, because you've traveled so much and you've been in and out of all the different countries. For me anyway, I see you at a very different level to what your belt says that you're at, in my opinion, because you went into your brown belt, you started teaching, and just watching your students that you were teaching at the time, I think you were doing 1, potentially 2 classes a week, and with us, you know, those guys improving, you improving even more. You know, it's always a situation sometimes that put people into where they are. But your jiu-jitsu, is at the, you know, it's very high level jiu-jitsu, for me anyway, in my opinion. And I love rolling against you.
There's some decent rolls. Yeah. And it's funny because I remember like these days when I roll with a lot of different belts, I always think about how I want to approach each roll. If I go in there with a blue belt versus if he's a big blue belt or he's a small blue belt. How to approach the roll. That way I get as much out of it as they do. I don't want to go in like a completely crushing style and do it to a smaller, lower rank where I don't really get it out of it other than just the pure joy of smashing blue belts. You know, it's I go in there and I try to learn as well. And there was a few rolls I remember when I was a white belt against you, Hayden, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing really well here. I'm like 3-shot white belt, doing really well against a purple belt. I mean, you were a purple belt at the time. And at that point, purple belts were like one of the highest. You didn't see brown belts or black belts really. Purple belt was like, was high.
He's not the blue.
Doing so well against Hayden, you know, and then I look back and go, he was just toying with me. He was just letting me have stuff to make it a bit more enjoyable for him. So yeah, going into rolls now, you kind of approach everything a lot more differently. Essentially to try to learn is a lot of the time when I roll now. I'm not always just trying to go. There's a lot of techniques that I know I can go for, and if I want, I'll get them. You know, like some really positions I feel extremely strong in. It's like, do you want to go in there and do that? Because you can, or you can learn. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me. Like, just the approach to wanting to learn the technique, just learn the technique rather than just doing stuff that you could win with. Like there's a lot of techniques I could throw away and just only use certain ones because I know I can always win with it. But like, what's the point? You know, always getting that certain technique. You should really want to expand your horizons and always have no weakness in you.
I think it's, and I think I've mentioned a couple of times. You know, I remember I was a brown belt, so I was, and I went to Hawaii and I fought this other brown belt, but he was like 60 kilos, you know, and he said to me, "I thought you'd have a lot more holes because you're such a big guy compared to me." But I said, "Well, I'm used to wrestling little guys through my gym and trying to play a little man or a big man and play a little man's game." And I said, "You've got to adapt your jiu-jitsu all the time," you know what I mean? So like you say, you could go out and smash people and use your weight and all that kind of stuff. But if you're not learning how to fine-tune your jiu-jitsu, especially with little people and big people, but, you know, just fine-tune your jiu-jitsu because they are sneaky little fuckers. Man. Little dudes are sneaky, they're fast, they got, you know, they love doing berimbolos, they love getting, you know, because they don't like big guys squashing them, so first thing they want to do is jump on your back. You know, I think it's really cool trying to, you know, deal with so many different ranges of people.
But you've got this guy down the bottom of those, because I remember when you came back from Aussie and I was doing berimbolos and I was like, "This is going to be great." And I set it up and you just smiled and berimboloed the shit out of me. And I was like, and I thought I had a really good counter. And I was like, my counter wasn't tapping out.
That was when berimbolos just came out. I remember when those came out and we had like purple belts in that gym. And I think it was a couple stripes to my blue belt at the time.
Yeah, we both were.
Half of us didn't really know what we're doing. We're like sitting there looking at going, where do you put your head when you got to go here and you got to try roll? And it was the thing to do. Everyone wanted to do it, but everyone felt ashamed to do it. You know, it was the new school move that a lot of the old school guys didn't like as well. So you would sneakily learn it on the side and be like, "I'm going to use this and roll it."
The day you got me, I'll never forget it because it was the first time I was actually ashamed of myself because you set it up and I was like, "Fuck, I'm fine. I know what to do here." And I went to do the counter. Fuck the counter completely. You caned me, tapped me out. And then I didn't mind tapping. It was at the end. You went, "You should really work on your counters to berimbolos." I was like, I was.
The thing was, I was thinking about it. Yeah. It's a good period. I remember I missed a whole good chunk of Groundworx Jiu-Jitsu from that little gym. That was a nice gym we were training at. The one down in what was in that field?
Bromley.
What was it?
It was the Bromley Jiu-Jitsu, right by the cemetery.
Yeah, it was in the Scout Den, mate.
The Scout Den. Yeah, that was a nice place. I didn't get to train there as much as I'd like this, and I was over in Melbourne, I think it was. That was a cool place.
Because you came back. You came back for a trip after the Pampaks, and we didn't tell anyone who you were. We just told everyone, "Oh, he used to train at our gym," and they're like, "Oh, it's a blue belt," and we were like, "Oh." Wipe the floor, and then you berimboled me and wipe the floor of everybody else.
Yeah, some good battles, man. I remember going in there, and I had some like really like everyone was like they didn't know who I was. I'm like, I don't know who these people are, and I was like, some of the matches I was having with some of the boys, they were going hard. They were like doing their best to try like, who's this guy coming in? Think he's he knows people, and had some pretty solid rolls.
Hey, what do you do outside of jiu-jitsu to keep yourself sane?
You know, for a long period there, I would do jiu-jitsu and that was all I did. And I started to neglect a lot of stuff on the outside as well. So pretty much when I got over here, like when I came back the second time after I when I came back from Canada, I stayed in Australia for a year and then I came back here. And that's when I started to try actually just do what I really enjoyed outside of jiu-jitsu, which was the outdoors essentially. I really enjoyed camping, hiking, and just trying to get into the outdoors and enjoy it a bit more. And before that, I really focused so much on jiu-jitsu, especially in Australia. I didn't do as much like traveling around the outback or in Aussie that I should. And I knew that's what I would have really enjoyed as well. Because sometimes like training's like great, but sometimes you have to have so much focus that you can put a lot of other stuff to the wayside. So I think coming back to New Zealand the second time, I especially with Pranita with me, I want her to obviously see New Zealand as well. And that's when I started to train and teach more, but to try actually to do stuff outside jiu-jitsu, because I really love kayaking. I love going out to the bush, and I love hunting, and I just love all that stuff. And I really put it aside for quite a few years, just focused on jiu-jitsu, which was obviously still good, and that's what I do now. But yeah, it's nice to come back, and that's what I've done since I moved back here. I've done so much more outdoor stuff, that just to try make the mind sane, especially when we had all these issues with COVID. We had that inability to train. It really made you think you need to start to have these other things to kind of keep you going, you know. And yeah, especially here with beers and stuff. It makes
I was going to say, you can go out and wrestle some beers.
Yeah, we went camping like the other week, and there was like a mother bear with cubs just kind of hanging around the area. So yeah, it makes me enjoy going out a little bit more, because I always did think back. I had so much focus on my earlier belts, training so hard, I didn't actually do too much outside of it. So it's good to get back to those roots as well, but to kind of realize, you know, jiu-jitsu is always going to be there for me, you know.
You're a qualified guide, aren't you, for outdoors?
Yeah. So I'm a qualified like Sekai guide. I've also got licenses in like snowboard instruction as well, and like whitewater rafting guiding as well.
What can't you do?
What's that?
What can't you do?
Love the outdoors, man. Love to do it. Yeah. So it was good to get back into doing all that, because before jiu-jitsu, that's what I would do. I'd love to go kayak over waterfalls and get out into the wilderness as well. So getting back to that has been especially a good mind resetter as well. Going to get away from all the sounds and the concrete and all that. So it's definitely been good, especially since all this has gone down with COVID. Yeah, it's been nice to kind of reset the brain a bit, you know.
So what are you doing for work now?
These days I work in landscaping. So I'm over here essentially just installation and maintenance as well. So yeah, that's been good, because before that I've been working inside. So it's kind of nice to work with your hands a bit more. And it's good. It keeps my physique in a pretty good shape. I don't think I've really lost any muscle tone since COVID hit and not being able to train. So yeah.
Did you do a marathon lately?
What's that?
Were you doing a marathon run or something? Because last time I seen a picture of you, you look like you lost like 20 kilos.
Yeah, I am. I think like at the moment, when I was competing most, I was sitting around 93, I think. I started like heavyweight, competed at heavyweight most of my jiu-jitsu career. But now I'm like down to like 90 kilos. So now
you're tiny.
So much fat on me, yeah. But you know, sometimes it's good to have a bit of extra weight to put down. But yeah, definitely. I need to start going to the gym as well. That's one thing I've done well in my career. I've managed to keep a decent physique without lifting any weight. So that's always helped me out a little bit, I've always thought. So I should probably start doing a bit more these days, noticing that as I was talking before it started, you know, because I hurt my knee on Monday. And it was the first time I kind of realized that as you get on, especially on in your jiu-jitsu or later in life, you need to start looking after things, because I had such a first day back, the injury happened, and it was essentially nothing like I would when I was like this blue belt. I was just bouncing around trying to cartwheel past guards, you know, and just a small thing can injure you. So now I need to kind of think more about like the holistic approach to make sure my whole body is strict.
You're a Masters 1 now, aren't you?
Yeah, and what is Masters 1? Is it 30 to 35?
Yeah.
Masters 1. So that'd be great.
I'm
still sitting there going, I still have to compete in adult. I can't jump up to the Masters, and I'm going, you know, maybe I can. Maybe I can do that.
I can do both. What is that for you then? Like, I mean, obviously COVID's put a damper on anything, but I did see the other day that the Pan Ams are back on in October or November.
Yeah.
But you're competing, mate. Are you wanting to compete anytime this year or potentially going forward?
Yeah. So for me, the main focus right now is to rehab this knee, try to get this knee as strong as I can. And I want to compete as much as I can. So since being back here, I've been back in Canada now for probably coming up 2 years. And I haven't competed coming back here. So just getting everything sorted back in place and everything organized from the move, it just hasn't been a focus. And I've always known that jiu-jitsu was going to be there, but make sure I can kind of get where I need to go. So, and the first training back, I had some big monster rolls. This is the first time we closed when we came back. After that, hit some big monster rolls, and it was great. My instructor's saying I'm going to compete, and I was like, oh, I definitely want to try this for the year, but if it went down, I still would really love to get into it. So my goal now is to really to try and take on board what I've learned in that kind of period where I didn't compete as much. And once I can get back, just to get back into it, because at this point in time for competition, you can really, if you want to here, you can compete as much. Well, for this, you could compete as much as you want. Like you can fly through the states. The states aren't that far away. So if you want to, you can compete in all these IBJJF tournaments. And so when that all kind of comes back and I've rehabbed this knee, I just really wanted to try kind of finish off my brown belt career like on a high, try get a few nice gold medals from here and possibly from states as well, which is probably where you're going to get most of your big tournaments. And I'd love to really finish off brown belt really well, moving into my black belt career further down the track, and then just try compete a bit more. But the great thing I'm enjoying is the fact they do have those masters divisions, because
and they're not little either. They're big divisions.
They're big divisions, and it's just good to know you go in there with a bunch of people who have the same, going to the same probably thought pattern as you. Some of the adults, they can go a lot more explosive, and injuries aren't as worried because you're a little bit younger, or maybe you're prepared a bit more, or generally the youth thing that usually comes into it. Your body's was broken up, hopefully. But so going to that, it's always good that it's always going to be competitive level at the same age bracket that you're going in. And I definitely love to get in there, try to put my mark on it, because I don't feel like I've put enough of a mark on this side of the world. I've done very well in Australia and New Zealand, but I definitely want to start to push. And there's some good guys at my gym as well. I've got Bryan, the guys at our gym, he's just a beast. When I was training with him back in 2014, he was just a white belt, and now he just got his black belt end of last year. So this boy just smashed through the belts really, really quick. He's a super heavyweight, big, tall, young guy. And
awesome name. Great name.
Yeah, solid name. Bryan Giorgio, he's an absolute beast, and we had some absolute solid rolls. And it's good to have someone who can match me strength for strength as well, because sometimes my strength has done me very well throughout my jiu-jitsu career, and it's nice to be able to try take that away and have that technique base against such a really strong opponent. So it's good that I've got such strong guys I can compete with internally to kind of get me ready for these things. So I should really take advantage of that going into my my career in the future. Yeah.
Nice, mate. Nice. Okay, man. So we're getting to that time. We try to keep it to an hour because we could sit here and talk for fucking ages.
Yeah.
So
you've glanced over everything. You've just told us.
You told us your life story, and it was really good. Actually, I liked it. I just.
I feel like there's so much. I always think, which one should I talk about? There's so many different, things in my career now. It's been such a long time. I'm like, man, it's been so many different things. Yeah, it's hard. It's
awesome, man. And it is really good to see yourself and doing really well in jiu-jitsu and continue to do well in jiu-jitsu, and and hopefully you'll continue that way once your knee's better. Now we have 5 questions we normally ask at the end of this. It's my turn. Bryan did it the other day. He wasn't very good, but that's all right.
I thought it was your turn. I didn't write anything down.
Oh, yeah, excuses. Okay. Open guard or closed guard?
Say it again, Sam.
Open guard or closed guard? Which one do you prefer?
I definitely should say closed guard. But my particular game, I do love open guard. Open guard's my jam. Yeah.
Nice. Favorite submission?
Oh, you know what? Ooh. I can't. Oh.
Got to be there.
If I had to choose, it would be the armbar. But the guillotine is right there. Those are my two sweet spots for sure. But I'd say my first love was the arm. So armbar for sure. Armbar for sure.
Nice. Who was your role model in jiu-jitsu, bro?
For me, it was definitely I've got so many. It's hard to pick. I've got to say probably Roger Gracie was probably the biggest role model for me. Kind of really showing that technique does does win overall. Like if you can use simple technique, it works well. Yeah. So Roger Gracie.
Favorite submission on Bryan?
Well, mate. What am I going to say, Bryan? There's so many. I'm going to say a nice solid bar and arrow. It was one of my favorites. Yeah, just see that whole head.
I'm just going to...
Yeah.
That's all right, mate. The guillotine's worked on me a few times. Do you wash your belt?
No, I do not.
See ya.
But what I would do, I would air it out. So I would air that out. So yeah, hopefully, UV and the sun.
UV light kills all germs, mate.
Yeah,
UV light kills all germs.
Yeah, if it's washed, I'll lose my mojo. I'll lose all my skill. I remember when someone just told me they washed it, I'm like, oh, what'd you do that for, man? It's bad luck. And then everyone else was like, you should wash it because of this, that, and this, skin disease and stuff. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good.
I've got a condom on. I'm not going to get skin disease.
I'm not that guy. I'm not that dude. It's funny because I got staph and that took a chunk out of me. I remember I did the nationals. I got staph on my face and I got strep throat at the same time as well. So I should be the one washing my belt. Wash your belt.
Don't wash it with your face.
Don't wash it with your face. Yeah.
Oh, hey, look, Scotty, thank you very much for giving up your time, mate, to talk to us. All the best, like I said, for the future. If anyone is in Canada or anyone, so just shout out where your gym actually is, bud.
Yeah, so I trained under the Alliance headquarters in Vancouver. It's in Kingsway, so it's if you're definitely in Vancouver, come check out Alliance. Bunch of great guys, awesome training. If you're looking for some really hard rolls and some decent technique, yeah, definitely come visit us for sure.
Get bow and arrow. Get bow and arrow to beer and bolloed.
Yeah. And guillotine.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Okay, guys. Okay, well, look, man, like I say, thank you very much, man. Awesome seeing you again.
Cool.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get to see you back down on this side of the world in the next year or two.
Yeah, me too.
And make sure you say hello to your lovely wife.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome, mate.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, guys, and just keep it up. Keep showing New Zealand Jiu-Jitsu, and let's help it grow a little bit. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet. Now, Bryan normally stops recording. Normally.
Oh, yeah.
God damn you.
I was like, what are you talking about? I'm finished.